Dear ladies, gentlemen, and esteemed expert, my name is Noor Al-Mazroui. On behalf of Dr. Mohammed Al-Ali, CEO of Trends Research and Advisory, it's my pleasure to welcome you all to today's conversation. As you may know, the guest of honor in the Sharjah International Book Fair this year is Italy, and fittingly, the title of today's conversation is Italy Gulf Cultural and Diplomatic Ties. We have two distinguished speakers gathered today to explore this topic and add to our understanding. Ms. Cristiana Olivia, who is the Administrative Secretary at the Italian Pavilion in Expo 2020, as well as Leonardo Mazzucco, who is one of our esteemed researchers at Trans. We will start now by discussing the cultural ties. Ms. Cristiana, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity. I would like to start saying that Mediterranean has always been a place of encounters and meeting between different cultures and society. And one example of this melting pot, cultural melting pot, of course, is Italy. The beauty of Italy is made by the encounter between different culture and languages, an encounter that creates art, beauty, and culture itself. And among the legacies of many population, that one of Arab civilization, of course, was fundamental to create Italy that we know today. And the intense history of relation between the Arabian Peninsula and Italy can be traced back to the peaceful ties between the Roman Empire and the Nabatean civilization, of which there are a lot of traces here and in Italy as well, but also with the trade, the fruitful trade that was connecting the southeastern Mediterranean to the land caravan routes. And this fruitful trade was so strong that has the capability um, to manage and reconcile the different religious and cultural affiliations. So was involving both the Maritime Republic of Italy, Amalfi, Genova, Pisa, and Venice, and Arab merchants. And we still have, until now, strong traces here and in Italy as well.
I totally agree about the Arab influences being prevalent in Italy. And when we think of art, Italy is one of the first and top destinations that come to mind. In your perspective, what Arab influences have you recognized in Italy in the artistic realm?
Yeah, I think that often Arab influence in Italian artistic production is underestimated. Arab traces are in Italy along all the peninsula from south to north, from Palermo to Venice, and 2 centuries of I don't want to use the word rule, but the Arab experience in Sicily has left so many traces and has brought in Italy, in Sicily especially, Arabic science and Islamic arts. Palermo was, which actually is the regional capital of Sicily, has been influenced architecturally a lot from Arabs that basically made the structure of the city itself, not only the architecture. And even long time after this Arab experience in Sicily, you can find a lot of Islamic decorative, Islamic inspired decorative forms. Even if the connection, the direct connection with Arab was over. So basically, it was starting an artistic trend from that time. So you can find building from late to Middle Ages that as this Islamic decorative style, but they were not made by Arabs actually. So that's so funny. And if you go to Venice, Venice is another strong example of this multiculturality because it was considered the door to the east, the Europe door to the east, since it was a city that she was a city that was connected to all the Eastern world. And a nice thing to know is that Venice is the only city that has its own Arab name. I mean, in the Western world, Al-Bondoqiyya, since like 1000, since the year 1000. So that demonstrate the mixing culture of the city. And if we are talking about modern architecture and art, arriving in Rome, we have the greatest mosque of the Western world, of the Europe, which is very big. It's 30,000 meters square and can host 12,000 people. And it was financed by the king of Saudi Arabia and was designed by Arab and Italian architects. So even in modern arts, we have a lot of connection. And one other example of cultural diplomacy in arts is Venice Biennale, that is considered one of the most important gatherings in art and architecture. And Gulf countries are participating to this event since a long time. So I think we have a lot of connection.
So, thank you for highlighting just how impactful early contact with the Middle East has been on Italian culture. And since we're at the Sharjah Book Fair today, let's discuss literature. Are there any notable links that you can discuss with us between Italian and Arabic literature?
Yes, of course, we have. The connection with Arabs was so strong in history that used to that left traces actually in literature and in the most important Italian poet, which is Dante Alighieri, and I think everyone knows the Divina Commedia in the world. And in that period, Arabic was the language of science. So basically, all the text from India, Greek, but also Arab world were translated in Arabic, and Arab scholars were translating from Arabic to other languages in Europe. So basically, everyone, the people of culture in that period, they used to know Arab work. So in 1919, the Spanish abbot and Arabist Miguel Assin Palacios discovered this amazing link between the work of Dante to the Muhammad otherworldly journey. He was saying that the story was so similar, and actually he found analogies with two works that are the Risalat al-Ghufran by Abu al-Marri and the Kitab al-Futuhat al-Makkiyah by Ibn Arabi. And then he was saying that these two works were direct source to the work of Dante in the Divina Commedia for the structure and the history of this journey. But at the beginning, the scholars, the Danteists, refused this thesis because they were saying, how did he get to know this text if Dante was not talking in Arab? That was not possible. So the turning point was actually the discovery of this link, this book, Kitab al-Mi'raj, that was translated in a language known to Dante at that point. And so that can demonstrate this link actually. And I think this is not make the Dante genius less great, but actually it broadens the horizon of Dante and make his work more intercultural and open to other words. That's so amazing. And even in modern literature, we have a lot of connection. I want to mention Leonardo Sciascia, which is a writer from 19th, and he was considering himself a Italian speaker Arab writer because he was from Sicily and considered Sicilian people Arabs, like Sicily was considering Arabs, yeah. And also, and one other example of this connection is this book fair that is partnered with Bologna Book Fair as well. Bologna Children Book Fair is participating here, and also Sharjah Book Fair was a guest of honor to the fair in Bologna this year as well.
Yes, so certainly literature and architecture are among the more pristine forms of artistic expression, and you pointed out several examples of this. However, there are also other venues to spread cultural contents which are more accessible and easier for the general public to consume. I'm thinking mainly about cinema and music. Can you please share your point of view on either of these venues?
Yeah, sure. Music is, of course, one of the example of this link of the Mediterranean culture. You can, if you listen popular music from Italy, it's of course it's clear that there is a strong influence from Mediterranean sound. But this fashion trend is also with modern musician. Like I want to mention Franco Battiato, which was a singer from Italy, a songwriter, but he was actually singing in Arabic. He learned Arabic. He was from Sicily, and he was so impressed by the Arab culture. And also now we have artist, some artists that are like Arab Italian second generation that is starting to spread this trend of these people that are singing this artist, and they are communicating the experience to be half Arab and half Italian, and so they are communicating this difference between two culture, which actually is not so big. So if you listen this kind of music, you discover as Italian that Arab culture is not so far from Italian one. And you also mentioned cinema. There is a very great job that is doing the Italian Institute of Italian Cultural Institute of Abu Dhabi, relating to in relation with cinema. They partnered with the Cinema Kill in Dubai, which is the only independent cinema in the city, and also Manarat Al Sadiyat in Abu Dhabi, in order to launch some initiatives for screening Italian movies. We had this kind of initiatives also in Expo, during Expo in Italy Pavilion, and on the other side, the contrary, there is we can say the huge lineup of Arab artists and the director that are representing Middle East at Venice Film Festival. One of the latest example was the movie Sadiyat al-Bahr, from Saudi Arabian filmmaker Shahad Amin. So that's a very strong relation also in this field.
Yes, it is. And you've worked at the Italian Expo in Dubai. So, given your work experience, I'm sure that you've witnessed many forms of cultural interactions between Italy and the UAE during these 6 months. Can you share some examples of these interactions?
Yes, with Expo, I think that the United Arab Emirates finally demonstrated the strong soft power that they are, also its ability to challenge this, giving the chance to the world to meet and share values and innovation technologies during in the middle of a pandemic. So this was very important. And this is just the last ultimate outcome for this strategy that started a few years ago, which has this focus on the word tolerance, which means also meeting other culture and discover other culture to know better our neighbors, but also to build a strong nation. So it contributes to the UAE nation building. We can say that this is very important. And the slogan of Expo was connecting mind, creating future, and of the Italian pavilion was beauty connects people, which is not so far away from this concept because as we said before, beauty of Italy is beauty because it was created by the connection of a lot of culture. So we had the chance to connect this to culture with a lot of events strongly related to the education. And this is not a coincidence that the Italy legacy to in this expo was the creation of an Arab Mediterranean campus and also a advanced education center for the reconstruction or cultural heritage that is lost in war. So we had this strong works together, and we had a lot of chance to demonstrate this.
And what do you think could be done to cement today's achievements and to further stimulate the Italian GCC cultural dialogue?
Well, I think that Italy, thanks to its geographical and cultural position, can be a bridge between the so-called Western world to the Arab one. And undoubtedly, there is a growing cultural cooperation between the Gulf countries and Italy, and this cultural cooperation is especially with the UAE, and this is demonstrated by the fact that the Italian Cultural Institute was opened in Abu Dhabi, which is the first cultural institute in the Gulf, and they are working very strong to spread the Italian culture in the country, but also to create point of contact, which is very important to know each other. I think that a further step could be, for example, the creation of an Emirati Cultural Institute in Rome in order to spread all this cultural initiative that actually are taking, the Emirati are organizing and that often take a back seat comparing to the touristic promotion, which is also important, but also culture in this country is very strong. And also one other thing that it came to my mind can be the creation of a Emirates school in Rome, as following, for example, the school, the Italian school of Abu Dhabi. This can be something that can help the relation between these two countries. And I think that if we strengthen this relation, is not only to get to know each other, but as we said, to know also ourselves better and achieve a more meaningful understanding of our origins in order to find a common ground and foster a genuine respect of each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Christiana, for your insightful perspective. We're going to move on to you, Leonardo. Leonardo will be discussing the diplomatic ties between Italy and the Gulf region. Leonardo, the floor is yours.
Dear Noor, many thanks for this kind introduction and thanks for having me at this precious opportunity to enhance cultural and diplomatic relations between two wonderful countries. While Miss Christiana has provided us with precious tools to cherish and appreciate the past, as well as the present cultural exchanges between Italy and the Gulf countries, I will shed light on Italy-Gulf bilateral ties from an international affairs perspective. After rapidly presenting the current Italian foreign policy outlook, My presentation will focus on exploring cooperation initiatives at bilateral and multilateral levels, especially in the security, energy, and economic domains. With a new parliament taking place and taking office, and the new government swearing in last October, Italy has recently entered a new phase of its political life cycle. While the premiership shifted from a grand coalition technocratic government headed by Mario Draghi, the former governor of the European Central Bank, to a right-wing government with a solid parliamentary majority led by Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Italy's positioning in the international arena is unlikely to experience radical changes. By nominating some Italian politics veterans at the top of critical ministries, such as the then President of the European Parliament, Antonio Tajani, at the Foreign Affairs, and Guido Crosetto at the Defense, the Meloni-led government signals to international observers that Italy's geopolitical and strategic posture will solidly anchored in the North Atlantic Alliance platform and the European Union family. Moving the discussion to the core of my presentation, it is important to highlight how Italy has rarely figured as a protagonist in the dynamics of the Gulf region. Due to a number of factors, primarily historical and geographical consideration, Italy has mainly focused its foreign policy activism in its immediate neighborhood. It means the Mediterranean Sea and North Africa. However, even though as Rome has often been relegated to a second-class role in the GCC region, bilateral ties between Italy and Gulf monarchies date back several decades. Since the early 1930s, when Rome stepped its first foot in the Arabian Peninsula with the Italian-Saudi Friendship Treaty, Italy-Gulf bilateral ties have registered exponential growth. Regular and reciprocal visits by leadership from both sides have significantly contributed to building a friendship diplomatic environment. Ultimately, Italy-Gulf relations have recorded an unprecedented acceleration during the past decades. And as I said, three main domains have fostered this dialogue. Moving in the details of the security cooperation, Italy came to play a more significant and visible role in the Gulf only in the early 90s against the backdrop of Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait. As part of the US-led Operation Desert Storm, Italy contributed to the war effort and, most importantly, to the goal of preserving the territorial integrity of Kuwait. Although Italian troops were rarely displaced to the Arabian Peninsula after the Kuwaiti liberation, Italy visibly contributed to promote security and stability in the GCC's immediate neighborhood. Indeed, in the US-led global war on terrorism after 9/11, Italy took an active role in the concerted effort to curb the threat of international terrorism by participating in military missions both in Afghanistan and Iraq. As a member of the Atlantic Alliance, Italy joined the NATO-led ISAF mission in Afghanistan, and the Italy armed forces were primarily responsible for ensuring the security of the ISAF HQ in Kabul and leading international coalitions command in the Herat province. Regarding Iraq, although Italy military operation was limited to a 3-year period from 2003 to 2006, Rome played a remarkable role under the banner of the NATO training mission by assisting the Iraqi forces to develop their security and police administrative operation. Later on, between 2015 and 2019, Italy dispatched a task force of around 450 troops to protect workers carrying out repairs to the Mosul hydroelectric dam. Mosul was the capital of the self-declared Islamic Caliphate, as we unfortunately recall, and it was the front-line battle between the Islamic State militants and the anti-IS international coalition. So the Mosul Dam was and still is a critical infrastructure representing a vital source of water and energy for the city of Mosul and its surroundings. At the time, there was a widespread concern among the international community that IS would have taken advantage of the Mosul Dam's structural flaws to provoke immeasurable damages to civilian areas extending from Mosul to Baghdad. It's noteworthy that Italian troops rarely engage in combat operation when deployed to the Middle East. Indeed, in most cases, Italian armed forces were tasked with no combat duties. That means that they were peacekeepers, interposition forces separating warring parties in combat zone, or adding training programs aimed at reforming the structure of police and military institutions. So ultimately, from Kosovo to Lebanon and Somalia, Italy has consolidated a decades-long experience in the conflict. As Ms. Christiana perfectly mentioned before, Italy has always been characterized by a strong maritime vocation, and it has a long naval history due to its specific geography and history. Still today, Italy markedly depends on sea transport lanes for its import and import, as well as energy supplies. As a result, Italy is deeply committed to the principle of freedom of navigation and safe transit across international maritime choke points, and I'm thinking about the Strait of Hormuz, Bab el-Mandeb, and the Suez Canal. Through its military assets and personnel, Italy is devoted to improving the security and the stability of shipping lanes, providing mariners with a safe maritime environment, and, if needed, intervening and protecting them from malign activities of state and non-state actors. In this regard, Italy has emerged as an active contributor to several maritime security platforms implemented in the waters of the Arabian Peninsula, and has regularly dispatched its naval assets to protecting shipping lanes in the Middle Eastern waters. Italy is part of the Combined Maritime Forces, a US-led 34-state naval partnership established in 2001, headquartered in Manama, Bahrain, and among its primary tasks, CMF aims at countering illegal activities, and I'm referring to piracy, smuggling of narcotics, and other illegal substances carried out by non-state actors. And on the other hand, ensuring the security, stability, and prosperity of international waters around the GCC regional space. Since 2009, Italy has been active on the southern shores of the Arabian Peninsula as a participant in the EU-led counter-piracy and maritime awareness mission EUNAVFOR Operation Atalanta. Italy, together with France and Spain, stands out for the number of military assets and naval units developed and deployed to support EU efforts in the Horn of Africa. Primarily oriented to securing the navigation of the World Food Programme's vessel delivering humanitarian aid to Somalia, and deterring, preventing, and repressing pirates' activities menacing vulnerable merchant ships. Operation Atalanta is also responsible for a vast number of secondary tasks, and I'm referring to monitoring illegal activities, especially illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, and trafficking of drugs, arms, and charcoal, but also contributed to the enforcement of weapons embargo on Somalia. Finally, and more recently, Italy contributes to the promotion of safe and secure maritime environment in the Gulf through the European Maritime Awareness in the Strait of Hormuz, EMASOH, which is a French-led naval initiative headquartered in Camp de la Fe in Abu Dhabi. Inaugurated in January 2020, EMASOH gained political support of other 7 European states, and it aims through its military track, which is Operation Agenor, at diffusing tensions breaking havoc in the Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. Operation Agenor primary tasks are to escort commercial ships through the Strait of Hormuz, keeping day-to-day interface with its maritime stakeholders, and ensure information sharing with all the other security platforms operative in the Gulf area. Finally, Italy Armed Forces will contribute to ensuring the defense and security of Qatar 2022 World Cup FIFA. The Italian contingent is comprised of more than 550 soldiers, 46 land vehicles, a ship, and 2 aircrafts. Italy will provide full spectrum support to the Qatari security forces to ensure the safe and regular running of a sporting event which is expected to gather thousands and thousands of sports and football fans. So undoubtedly, we should recognize that Italy's role as a security provider in the Gulf remains limited and is not comparable to those of first-class actors such as the United States, United Kingdom, and France. However, the latest moves of Rome in the Gulf region tell a story of growing resolve by Italy to contribute in upholding a secure maritime environment across the region, and especially the fact of constantly and regularly dispatching troops and warship is a concrete display of Italy's growing interest and closer attention to the Gulf countries' security threat perception. So gradually moving now to talk about a bit the economic cooperation between Italy and the Gulf. As the second manufacturing powerhouse in the European Union, it is not a surprise that Italy eyes the GCC market as a promising destination to export its commodities and its services. While single cases display slightly different figures, it might be said that Italian export to the Gulf region revolves around five main areas, which are precision mechanical products, chemical products, food products, and pharmaceutical medical products, and finally, electrical equipment for domestic appliances. Although Italy GCC trade exchanges are still adjusting to the shocks brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine war, data for 2022 first semester signal a promising and positive trend that in most cases markedly outweighs the same period in 2021. Among the GCC member states, I'm glad to say that the UAE stands out as the biggest recipient in Italian export with a value of roughly 3.4 billion of euros from January 2022 to June 2022. In order to secure profitable market shares in the Gulf region and attract financial capital from Gulf investors, a growing number of Italian enterprises are seeking to obtain halal certifications. While firms producing food, pharmaceutical, cosmetical, and personal care products have traditionally been the primary seekers and beneficiaries of halal trademark, new sector, and I'm thinking especially about tourism, are gaining more and more attention in getting this specific certification. And Italy, which ranks at the sixth place among the inbound destination in the non-OIC area for Muslim tourists, many tourist operators and resorts in Italy are expanding their tourist packages to include services specifically tailored to Qatar and Muslim customers. And then we are referring to meal compliant with Islamic dietary requirements, amenities and leisure activities which are respective of the different sensitivity when it comes to family and gender mixing, and the provision of dedicated praying areas. Therefore, Italian entrepreneurs in the tourist sector are signaling a growing interest to provide Muslim customers with a broader array of options and allow Muslim tourists in Italy to enjoy their holidays comfortably. On a different note, during the last decades, some GCC countries such as the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar have positioned themselves at the forefront of the freight and passenger transport industry. Indeed, many Gulf-based companies have consolidated sound expertise when it comes to offering logistics services as well as storage and distribution options. Among other things, the development of cutting-edge freight transport logistics has become, by definition, one of the principal entrepreneurial areas where the Gulf countries are concentrating their economic diversification efforts. Due to their capacity to develop more competitive and efficient logistics solution that suits the increasingly demanding of a constantly adjusting global market, Gulf-based logistics companies have positioned themselves as trendsetters in the transport industry. Thanks to its unique geography, the Arabian Peninsula is set to become a critical transmission node in the global trade supplies and a vital logistics connector between East and West. And we should recognize this as a country with a close interest in gaining a solid connection to a global trade lanes to export its high value-added commodities, while securing stable access to supplying chains to import energy products and raw materials to process at home. Italy eyes with growing attention the homegrown logistics solution offered by the Gulf countries. So moving to the third and last aspects of the Italy-Gulf cooperation, energy. On the one hand, with an industrial fabric made up of hundreds of thousands of small and medium-sized enterprises and no direct access to domestic energy sources such as nuclear or fossil fuel, Italy has traditionally satisfied a high quantity demand of electric energy for industrial and residential use by importing energy products. However, the shortcomings of energy supply chains that emerged during the COVID-19 pandemic, the growing concerns regarding the long-term implication of climate change, and the severe impacts of the Russia-Ukraine war on the global energy market have driven Italy to double down its efforts in further diversifying the country's energy mix and pivoting it toward green products. On the other hand, while the GC states to a different extent still see the export of hydrocarbon products as a prominent role in their economies, they all have set themselves ambitious decarbonization targets and are investing massive financial resources in the development of state-of-the-art solutions to support the green transition. In this regard, Italy and the GCC states are committed to enhancing climate action, meeting net zero targets, and developing renewable energy solutions. In this regard, I would like to draw attention to two examples from Italy that might be of interest also for the Gulf friends, and they are the Enis biofuels and SNAM's transport storage solutions. Eni, which is Internazionale Idrocarburi, is Italy's energy champion and the country-leading petroleum refineries company, and it is working on producing eco-friendly fuels in the broader framework of its long-term decarbonization strategy. One example of its visionary project is the waste-to-fuel technology, which aims to turn the organic fraction of urban solid waste into biofuel. The technology's energy recovery is virtually carbon-free, and it allows also to recover 60% of water from the solid waste during the process, and this water could then be repurposed for industrial uses. As one of the main European top operators in natural gas transport and storage, Snam is a market-leading company and a flagship of Italian engineering. Indeed, Snam operates a 40,000-kilometer-long pipeline network in Europe and is one of the main operators in LNG regasification. Significantly committed to supporting energy transition efforts, Snam is developing trailblazing infrastructural solutions to transport and storage green gases, and we are referring to biogas, green hydrogen, and synthetic methane, which are produced also in a green way through power plants run by biogas or renewable energy plants, and we are talking about wind farms and solar parks. So, with the GCC countries consolidating a growing attention for creative initiatives to pivot their economies away from an oil revenue-based model, Italy-Gulf ties might reach new heights through cooperation on renewable energy-focused projects. To conclude and just wrap up in a couple of sentences what I'm trying to give here, contrary to US, China, and Russia, Italy is not a political, economic, and security heavyweight, and it does not try to become one. However, especially during the last years, Rome has unquestionably signaled an interest in playing a more visible and active role in the GCC space. We have to recognize that the Mediterranean and North Africa are bound to remain the priority areas where Italy will spend most of its diplomatic capital and energies. Still, the need to cultivate more profound and meaningful ties with the Gulf friends is gradually becoming more relevant in Italy's foreign policy compass. While traditional areas of Italy-Gulf cooperation, such as security and economy, remain preferential areas to nurture bilateral ties, green transition-driven partnerships represent a promising venue to bring Italy and Gulf relations to the next stage. Finally, the course of Italy's foreign policy in the Middle East is unlikely to undergo substantial changes during the government led by Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Italy's deep-seated positioning in the Atlantist and European camps, as well as Meloni's pragmatic understanding of international affairs, call the Italian new government to keep up with a reassuring policy posture towards the Middle East countries and the Gulf friends. Many thanks for your attention and your time.
Thank you, Leonardo, for unpacking the details of these diplomatic ties. Now, I'd like to give a chance to the audience to ask some questions. Does anybody in the audience have any questions for either of our panelists? You have a question? No? Okay. On that note, I'd like to thank both our panelists very much for your contributions. It's been a very interesting discussion and a productive opportunity to deep dive into such a broad topic. And thank you to our audience for taking part in this conversation. We're looking forward to seeing you again. Thank you.